Amber Glenn and Alysa Liu, two titans tearing up the script and rewriting American figure skating history from scratch. January 9th, 2026. The Enterprise Center in St. Louis wasn't just hosting a meet. It was the coronation ground for the Blade Angels. Dead center on the ice stood two forces of nature, living, breathing contradictions of the sport's very DNA. In this corner, Amber Glenn, 26 years old, a sheer powerhouse who spent 10 grinding years kicking down the door just to get a seat at the table. And across the rink, Alysa Liu, the 20-year-old phenom who walked away, came back and brought the world to its knees in under 18 months. The air inside that arena was so thin, you could barely breathe, thick with something heavier than just pre-Olympic jitters. You were watching a dynasty shift. Amber Glenn didn't just snag her third straight US national title. She became the first woman to pull off that hat trick since the legendary Michelle Kwan, absolutely shredding the record books in the process. Her short program score, 83.05. Not just a personal best, it was the highest number ever posted in American women's skating history. But here's the kicker. Mere minutes before Amber took the ice, Alysa Liu had already shattered that same record. The lead traded hands like a baton in a 4x4 relay, leaving 17,000 fans gasping for air. They call themselves the Blade Angels, a cute moniker Alisa tossed into a group chat with Amber and Isabeau Levito. But don't let the sweet branding fool you. What went down in 2026 was a full-blown technical arms race. A collision between a veteran's raw kinetic violence and a world champion's lyrical genius. Forget who takes gold in Milan. The real question burning through the ice is who is actually the better skater. Jump onto Reddit or scroll through any skating thread right now, and the war over Amber Glenn's technique is hitting a boiling point. Fans are dubbing her the Tonya Harding of the 2020s, minus the scandal or the raw unchecked horsepower. Amber doesn't just skate, she bullies the rink into submission. When she launches into Madonna's Like a Prayer, she's hitting speeds most skaters only dream of in a dead sprint. She drives that 5'5" frame like it's a Formula One engine. Where others need 6 or 7 crossovers to get moving, Amber hits top gear in 3. Speed isn't just an asset, it's her weapon of mass destruction. During that historic 83.05 short in St. Louis, her opening triple axel didn't just land, it took flight. She racked up a grade of execution of plus 2.51. But the judges weren't just rewarding the landing. They were rewarding the sheer violence of the takeoff. Massive, explosive, unapologetic. It had a gravitational pull you could feel right through your TV screen. But that kind of power comes with a tax. The knock on Amber has always been her edges. In this sport, mastery is defined by how deep you can carve a turn without bleeding speed. Critics argue Amber forces it. She uses brute strength to muscle through step sequences. It's effective, fast, and impressive, but it ain't soft. Amber is the veteran, now the big sister of Team USA. At 26, she wields a mature, hardened strength that commands total respect. She skates with a sophisticated grit that screams, "I've walked through hell, and I'm still the last one standing." In 2026, Amber Glenn isn't playing the princess. She's gunning for legend status. Then you pivot to Alysa Liu. If Amber is a thunderstorm, Alisa is a rushing mountain stream. Alisa's road to the 2026 Games might just be the greatest comeback story in sports history. After placing 7th in Beijing as a burnt-out 16-year-old, she walked, retired, went to college, lived a real life. When she came back, the jumping bean prodigy was gone. In her place stood a true skater. And the forum threads agree on one thing. Alisa possesses the superior blade work. Where Amber relies on torque, Alisa masters efficiency. She generates massive glide from just 2 crossovers. Her edges are deep, quiet, and effortless. She doesn't fight the ice. She flows through it. In St. Louis, Alisa's short program to Laufey's Promise brought the entire arena to a hushed standstill. It was what we call expensive skating, natural, fluid, light as a feather. But Alisa is also a tactical mastermind. For the 2026 free skate, she originally debuted a Lady Gaga medley, Paparazzi meets Bad Romance. It was a high-octane crowd pleaser that had 17,000 people clapping on the beat. But halfway through the season, the realization hit. Gaga was a party, but it wasn't Olympic gold. So she made the call. For Milano Cortina, she's scrapping it and bringing back MacArthur Park, the masterpiece that crowned her world champion in 2025. Why? Because that routine is pure artistry. It showcases that ethereal blade angel quality the judges shower with massive component scores. Alisa's secret weapon isn't a triple axel anymore. It's her bulletproof consistency. She nailed 7 triples in St. Louis with positive grades of execution on every single element. She might not have Amber's explosive peaks, but she doesn't have the valleys either. When Alisa smiles, the judges melt. She makes the impossible look like a walk in the park. And in 2026, making it look easy is the ultimate flex. Figure skating lore tells us that to be rivals, you have to be enemies. We're wired to look for the next Kerrigan versus Harding. But in 2026, Amber Glenn and Alysa Liu are torching that script. They call themselves the Blade Angels, a nickname coined by Alisa that's more than just a label. It's a radical psychological reboot. They don't see an opponent across the ice, they see a lifeline. Check the tape from the St. Louis Kiss and Cry. That's Alysa Liu and Isabeau Levito, standing tall, screaming their lungs out for Amber. The second Amber clinched the win, Alisa was the first one there with a crushing hug. Their group chat. It's blowing up 24/7. But don't mistake this for softness. It's a calculated tactical maneuver to diffuse the suffocating weight of competition. When you're in a sisterhood, the Olympic burden doesn't feel so heavy. You aren't stranded on an island, you're commanding a fleet. By building this fortress of support, they're firewalling against the burnout that nearly retired Alisa back in 2022. Even after taking silver behind Amber, Alisa looked the camera in the eye and said she was bursting with pride. She talked about the joy of sharing the podium, proving that this camaraderie isn't a distraction, it's high-octane fuel. When the skater before you burns the house down like Alisa did in St. Louis, it forces you to find a gear you didn't know you had. Amber confessed that following Alisa was terrifying, but that fear powered her historic 150.50 free skate. The Blade Angels aren't a PR stunt. They are a shield against the Olympic pressure cooker. Now let's talk about the battleground that has the internet divided. The scores. Figure skating math is brutal. You've got the technical score for the jumps and the component score for the art. Components cover the skating skills and performance. And this is where the war between Team Amber and Team Alisa gets bloody. Amber Glenn dominates the technical side with her triple axel, a base value nuclear weapon that gives her an instant lead. But the keyboard warriors argue Alisa should bury her in component scores, citing her superior body control and deep edges. They point to the seamless step sequences and effortless glide as proof of a higher pedigree. The critique Amber muscles through her routine, while Alisa dances through hers. But the judges in St. Louis weren't buying it. They slapped a 9 on Amber's presentation. Why raw speed and explosive range? In the arena, Amber's velocity is scary. She eats up the ice. She looks powerful, mature, and undeniable. To a judge 5 feet away, that energy is intoxicating. Alisa might be the smooth violin solo, but Amber is the rock anthem that shakes the stadium. One is technical perfection in the classical sense. The other is a force of nature that commands the room. Right now, the judges want both. But as the road turns to Milan, the margin between power and artistry is razor thin. Alisa has turbocharged her speed since her comeback, and Amber has refined her lyrical softness. They are converging on the center, making the Olympic podium a total toss-up. The Winter Games are knocking on the door. The Blade Angels, Amber, Alisa, and Isabeau, form the most lethal American squad we've seen in a generation. They aren't going to Italy just to march in the parade. They are hunting a medal that has eluded American women since 2006. The battle plan for Milan is simple. Amber Glenn must land the triple axel. End of story. If she puts it on her feet, she can take down anyone on the planet. She is the apex predator of the short program. If she nails that jump in her Madonna routine, she enters the free skate holding all the cards. Alysa Liu needs to be the phantom. 2 flawless programs, clean sheets, 0 deductions. She's betting the house on her consistency and sky-high component scores to carry her to the podium. She's bringing back MacArthur Park because she knows the international panel respects her world champion legacy. But there is a twist. Reports say the ice in Milan is hard and fast. That condition favors Amber's explosive power but threatens Alisa's delicate glide. If the ice is brittle, Alisa's edges need surgical precision. If it's too slick, Amber risks losing control of her massive momentum. And then there's the final boss, Japan's Kaori Sakamoto. She possesses Amber's power and Alisa's edges combined. To dethrone her, the Americans need to be perfect. But for the first time in 20 years, the US team doesn't look terrified. They look like they're crashing a party. We love to pick sides. We want a hero and a villain. But 2026 is teaching us a different lesson. The real magic of the Blade Angels isn't the scores. It's that they are giving each other permission to be legendary. Amber Glenn proves you can be 26, openly queer, and the most explosive athlete on skates. She's proving your prime is whatever you say it is. Alysa Liu proves you can walk away, find yourself, and return dangerous. She's showing us that joy is the ultimate performance enhancer. Whether you team triple axel or team perfect edges, one thing is indisputable. American figure skating is back from the dead. In a world that loves labels, the Blade Angels are shattering the mold. The veteran and the prodigy, the storm and the calm, the power and the prayer. Let the judges in Italy decide who gets the gold, while the internet argues over the math for the next 10 years. Because the moment the Blade Angels step onto that Olympic ice, the history books are already closed. Amber Glenn and Alysa Liu didn't just recapture the US title, they resurrected the very soul of the sport. And in 2026, that is the only score on the board that counts.